everyone, welcome here on a Saturday. We don't usually do weekend videos except for every now and then, but I want to share my sour cherry granola recipe with you. I promised to many of you that I would share this recipe, and so I will do that in today's video. This is a very quick video because this is a very simple recipe. My sour cherry granola is a very special recipe. I usually make this recipe in a more decadent manner than you see it on this video, and I give it away as a Christmas present to those people that I truly love because I only make food for people I like. So let me just talk about the sour cherry granola. The ingredients that I'm showing you today are very basic, and this is the kind of granola that I eat on yogurt almost every single day. So when I give you this recipe, it's with the point of view that this is an everyday recipe. At Christmas time, I make this recipe a little more decadent by adding in a little bit more fat in the form of coconut oil. I use coconut oil for my recipe, but at Christmas I will add in like an extra tablespoon, and I will add in different kinds of nuts. In the recipe today I'm using almonds and I'm using coconut, but at Christmas I will add in shelled pistachios, I will add in walnuts or pecans, whatever kind of fancy nut I feel like adding. Typically my ratio of nuts to oatmeal is I will have 1 cup of oatmeal and 1 cup of nuts of whatever kind. So that's kind of the ratio. I'm going to have the recipe for the granola that I'm making today in the description. I will try and add some notes, but I'm not going to get too pedantic about it because I think you can figure it out. You can make the recipe larger than what I'm giving you. You can make less. You can play around with the amount of fat you put in. You can play around with the amount of sweetener. It's really very forgiving. I'm going to put you on the overhead camera to do the recipe because I think it's easier for you to see it. Also, I want to mention the storage. I usually store my granola in my vintage pre-loved, I think this is from like the 1960s or the 70s jar, and I just store it in here. As long as you let the granola cool off really well, it will keep for a few weeks in a jar like this or a mason jar or something like that. It never lasts 2 weeks in my house because I eat it on yogurt every single day. Typically, I make exactly the amount that I'm going to be showing you in this video, and that amount lasts me for about, I would say around 10 days. And it always tastes fresh, so storing it in a jar, a glass jar, I think is the best storage method. Typically, I will have it with yogurt and fruit, and then I'll sprinkle a couple of tablespoons of the granola on top of that. I have had it on ice cream, vanilla ice cream specifically, or my very favorite, Ben & Jerry's cherry with those chocolate chunks. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but I love that ice cream. I don't buy it very often because I'm lactose intolerant and ice cream doesn't agree with me, but honestly, I love ice cream so much that every now and then I will treat myself. So I will sprinkle some of the granola on top of that, and it's really yummy. So that's a suggestion. I even put a little bit in my oatmeal if I'm making oatmeal. I usually have strawberries in my oatmeal or blueberries, and I'll sprinkle a little bit of the granola on top to give it a crunch. So those are just some serving suggestions. I'm sure many of you can probably make the recipe better, adapt it to put in other things. I don't really know if it's an exact granola recipe. Maybe it's more like toasted oats with nuts and fruit or something like that. But I call it sour cherry granola. Otherwise, like I said, if you have any other serving suggestions, I would love to see them mentioned in the comment section below the video. So let's move forward and let's make some sour cherry granola. For the granola, you will need 1.5 cups of oatmeal. I just use the large flake, old-fashioned kind of oatmeal, and I get mine in these huge bags from Costco. You will also need some slivered almonds. These ones are the blanched kind, but any slivered almonds will do. These are not salted or roasted or anything like that. These are the raw ones. You will need some large flake coconut, and this coconut is really large flakes. I'm not sure if the camera will focus on that. I get mine off Amazon. This is what the brand is and what it looks like. The reason I get it from Amazon is because I cannot find that kind of a large flake coconut anywhere in Calgary. You will also need some coconut oil. I'm going to have to melt this, and I'm going to give you the proportions as I'm putting it in, and I will also put the recipe that I use in the description box. I also have some vanilla extract. Again, mine is just from Costco. And then I have maple syrup that I will use for the sweetener. You can use honey if you want. It'll just turn out stickier. You will also need a little bit of salt, and I just use this pink salt. I forget what it's called, but I get like huge bags of it at Costco. So those are the ingredients that we're going to need. And I'm going to just quickly make this. The first thing I'm going to do is just melt my coconut oil because it is hard as a rock. I do this granola in stages when I'm actually baking it. First of all, I start off with 1.5 cups of the oatmeal, and this is just large flake oatmeal, as I mentioned before. Then I put in a tiny pinch of salt, like maybe, I don't know, like less than 1/4 teaspoon, like maybe 1/8 of a teaspoon. The salt is just to kind of brighten it up a little bit. I add in around 2 tablespoons of melted coconut oil. Now you can add more, you can add less. It's really up to you. You just kind of want to give it a little bit of moisture when you're mixing all the ingredients in. So I just pour it in. I add in 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. I add in 1 tablespoon of maple syrup. And again, I do a heaping one. You can add more, you can add less. Really, it's up to you. I find that 1 tablespoon is plenty sweet for me. Now, the one thing I forgot to mention that you'll need is some cinnamon, and I don't measure. I just like put a whole bunch of it in. Like if you had to measure, then let's say maybe a teaspoon or more if you like cinnamon. And I just mix this all together. And this is where I can ascertain if there's enough oil in it. If I didn't, let's say, put enough. But I think 2 tablespoons was plenty for what I'm doing. I just make sure everything is really well coated. Now, I have preheated my oven to 300 degrees Fahrenheit. You will need a cookie sheet lined with some parchment paper. I'm using a big cookie sheet because we're going to be mixing this during the baking process. So right now I'm going to put it onto my cookie sheet. I like to kind of spread it out so that it bakes and toasts evenly. I want to get all the goodness in. All right, it's going to go in the oven for 10 minutes. Okay, it's been 10 minutes. I took it out of the oven and I'm going to stir it really well. Now, I should admit, I stirred it after it was in the oven for about 5 minutes because I'm weird that way. I just like things stirred up. Now I'm going to add in some of those slivered almonds, and I mean, I put in a lot. I would say maybe like at least half a cup or more. It's really up to you. And same with the coconut. I will put in maybe half a cup or more. I really kind of eyeball it. This is not a perfect science. I stir it in, and I'm going to put it in the oven for another 10 minutes. Now, I'm going to be checking it every 3 minutes or so, and at the 5-minute mark, I will stir it while it's in the oven. I do not want the slivered almonds and the coconut to burn. I want everything toasted, not burnt. So back in the oven for 10 minutes. All right, this has been in the oven for another 10 minutes, so I'm going to give it a good stir and take a look. Now everything's toasting up. I'm not sure you can really see it. I'm going to try and show you if it'll focus. The coconut is toasting up. So because it's already almost all toasted, I'm going to turn my oven off and then put this in for about 5 minutes with the oven turned off, but I'm going to be keeping an eye on it. All right, this has been in the oven another 5 minutes, as I said, and the coconut is toasted perfectly to me. Now, just to get the schedule straight here, the oatmeal with the liquid added to it goes in the oven for 10 minutes at 300. Then we added the coconut and the almonds, and we put it in the oven for another 10 minutes at 300. And I stirred this every few minutes or so throughout that first 20 minutes. Then the last 5 minutes, you can turn the oven off and just let this sit in there and finish toasting. Or if you find that it's not toasted enough when you put it back in for that last 5 minutes, maybe leave the oven on for 3 minutes and then turn it off for 2 minutes. Essentially what you want to do is that last 5 minutes, you just want to eyeball what this is looking like. And some people like theirs toasted a little bit more than others. It's a preference thing. Now we're going to let this sit and cool off completely, like totally, before we put the dried cherries in. So with the power of YouTube, this will happen instantaneously for you, but you want to let this sit and cool off. So the granola is cooled off, and now I'm going to just add in my sour cherries. Now, I want to mention, I'm not putting in a lot because dried fruit is really high in sugar and I just don't need the calories. But you can also use dried cranberries if you can't find the sour cherries. I get mine at Bulk Barn here in Canada, so I'm not sure if there's a Bulk Barn in the US. I want to say there is, but I'm not sure. But these are sour dried cherries. You can use cranberries, you can use raisins, you can use chopped apricots, which is amazing. Whatever kind of dried fruit you want. So I just make sure that I put it in after it's cooled off. And I just kind of mix it in. And I like to just have a little bite of a sour cherry every now and then when I'm eating my yogurt. I hope you enjoy this recipe. Let me know in the description box if you happen to make it and if you like it. And this is it for a very quick, short weekend video. And I will see everyone at our regular time on Tuesday. Bye!